first Arab invasion into Egypt.
I see.
Now, it's interesting because once that invasion comes, they help the African in Egypt drive the Romans out of power.
Right.
But the Romans don't leave.
And then they
just stay there.
there.
They no longer have power. Ali then engages with the African soldiers, and they assassinate Ottoman, who he feels is the wrongful leader. But he will be assassinated by Ottoman's nephew, Muawiyah, who's general. Now, let me tell you, the only reason I brought all of that out there, because this then precipitates this major invasion of North Africa, which has not stopped until this day. And the Arabs who initially invaded lost the Muslim system in the 8th century to the Turks and the European whites. And from the 8th century to now, Islam have not been in the hands of Arab leadership.
You said they lost the system.
The Islamic system was lost to the Turkish mercenaries they had fighting their wars for them. And the Turks, under the Mamelukes, the Seljukes, and then the Ottoman, controlled Islam, ravished Africa, ran the African slave trade, was in partnership with the European merchant class that invaded West Africa, Central Africa, and East Africa, providing the slaves to the Europeans.
I see. So it started up north,
yes,
where we stopped at, not further than we went, but we went up to Segou, I think it was.
They came all the way down.
Big slaving center.
Paga and Salaga.
Salaga. That's right, Salaga. But we don't have very much time.
Right.
And we want to get back to the fact that there were some Africans involved in the slave trade.
Right.
There are many reasons why, but most of it has to do, I believe, with the fact that their social structure was broken by all of these invasions.
These series of invasions over the century.
And after a while, there are many also people who were put out of the community because they were not living according to the standards of the community. And then when the slave people came, they joined with them and began to become slavers themselves.
So, but there's a methodology, and it needs to be understood. You cannot take away the Arabs' involvement in the transatlantic slave trade.
Absolutely.
They were paramount.
And they were
because they had an army and they
had
guns.
Yeah.
You cannot take away the Arabized African Muslims' involvement in the slave trade. Now listen to what I said, the Arabized or Turkicized African Muslim involved in that trade. But there was a method they would use. They would come into a village. Most of Africa were basically agrarian or fishers.
That's right.
They would come into a village with their army and say, we'll be back in 30 days. We want 50 men and 20 women. Now, either you provide us with that, or we will take who we want, including you and your family.
And the Africans did not have guns. They did not have those things.
So now you had a village either have to fight, and in most cases, many of them did, and was wiped out totally, and some were victorious.
And some fled.
And some fled to other parts of Africa, or you had to find 50 people from someplace. Many times you got volunteers from the village who volunteered to go instead of having the community destroyed.
Yeah.
There, if you go to Paga and to northern Ghana and Burkina Faso, you will see village after village and town after towns where we built our houses without windows, with the doors in the top of the house, with just slits for our arrows to fight off the slave traders, and courtyards with doors that no more than 3 feet tall. So you had to get down to come in, and that way we could stop you.
Even today, some of those, you have to go way bend down to get in there.
You can go and visit these places all over that area of Africa where enslaved ancestors came from. Or you can go to Gambier. It is a community in Benin.
Sum it up. The Africans, some were involved in the slave trade, that is true. But you must do your work. You must do your research.
The slave trade was built by Europeans. They were the architect of it. They ran it. It was a business rooted in genocide to make money, to build the European industry, and that business created the Industrial Revolution, and the technological revolution of the day is still sustained by the wealth of Africa.
And when we look at television or those films we used to go see, and we'd see European royalty sitting at the table with all this food, they got it because they were enslaving people and becoming
murdering
rich by
people,
that.
committing genocide on people.
Can you get this on the camera? Which one shall I go to?
And I would just like to give one message to Professor Gates. I would love to see you, Professor Gates, go to the Jewish community and say the Nazis are not culpable because of the Jewish collaborators that took part in helping to kill their own people in Poland, the guards and others around the police ghettos, the Campos, those who betrayed the Jewish people, those who are mentioned in the transfer agreement who took their money and left their people in harm's way. Go tell that community, because they had collaborators, the Nazis are not culpable. And we know you won't be working at Harvard very long after that one.
No, he knows that too.
Yes.
Thank you, Professor Small. We
You're
don't
welcome,
have
Nana Camille.
time to get all this. You know, this is
Yes,
a thing that goes on forever. But there are some books we want to refer you to: Fighting the Slave Trade, West African Strategies. They had strategies. They fought. They fought. They fought. On the shore, there were women who came after ships had gone, and they stood there and cried, looking for their people. They played drums so that the people on the ships would know that they're looking for them, waiting for them. But also the destruction of black civilization by Chancellor Williams. Please read these books so that when people like Skip Gates deny that we are strong people who love our families and we're not implicit in that slave trade, you can talk to them. You can say, well, I won't tell you what to say. But anyhow, thank you for being here. I love it when I meet you in the supermarket and other places. My number will be on the screen. Call me, email me. I'm on Facebook, as is Dr. Small, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for being here at Ancestor House with us.
We must learn and tell our story, heal the pain and raise the glory. Tell it. We must learn and tell our story, heal the pain and raise the glory. Tell it. Not to know the family story is bad. Not to want to know it is worse. For to pass on ignorance to someone is it's like passing on a curse. And it will curse your father, curse your mother, curse your sister, curse your brother. And every time you